Hey everybody, welcome into the GASOCast, our official TABC Showcase wrap-up show. I mean, there were just so many good games, players of all levels, coaches crawling all over the place at SWAC, DFH, and Hebron. I mean, there's just so much ground to cover, so we're going to take some time today talking about a lot of the guys that we saw that we were impressed with. So let's just go ahead and start it with a thought from the weekend. Blue, you're the OG here. You can lead us off. What are your thoughts about the TABC Showcase as a whole?
It was overwhelming. I think that you
in a good way.
Yeah.
Yes, it was overwhelming for me for the first day, not knowing where to start. And I mean, we were giving out schedules to college coaches,
Telling them where to start.
Yeah, telling them where to start, and then I bust my schedule out. I'm like, my goodness, so many players just see not enough time. And so my initial thought was 400 teams. Think about that. We can probably throw out a couple teams that should have been there that weren't. Mm-hmm. But out of 400, if you're a college coach and you can find a player, you know, that's it was for everybody, every level. Yep. We talked to everybody that was there just about, and it was a fun, hard weekend. Yeah. You and I. I'm sure with y'all too, just having to recover on Monday was pretty hard.
I'm still gassed. I'll continue and piggyback off of that thought. I realized real quick, as badly as I wanted to watch everyone there, it just wasn't possible. And so what I did the first few hours is I was kind of all over the place, jumping between courts, and I wasn't really getting great evaluations or great feel to the game. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to stick with one. Once I get a grasp of it, I can move on. Mm-hmm. But by and large, once I started doing that, you realized how much you were missing. And that's a tough balance to strike, right? Because you want to see everybody there, but at the same time, if you want quality workout, you gotta spend some time on a court. And then, you know, we're talking to college coaches the whole time as well, and you're turned on for 72 straight hours. Yeah. And it was a blast, but I'm exhausted from it. And you know, we got a lot of good work done.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, us four worked very close together the prep and during the week, but there was very few times us four were all together that whole weekend. Right. Whether y'all two were on the court, I was upstairs a lot, which is different for me. I'm usually on the court filming. Luckily, I had the best crew of media guys.
Shout
out to them. I've already tweeted you out, so I'm not going to give y'all more love. Relax. But
you know who you are.
The ability for me to be upstairs and film some from upstairs, but I don't get a chance to sit down with college coaches as much, so this was a good opportunity. It even got to the point where I was watching a game, a college coach would talk to me, and I forget I'm not wearing a GASO shirt. So one of the days I did put on a GASO polo.
Shocker.
But it was just cool to finally get that and build relationships with some of these coaches. And, you know, we do watch a lot of basketball, so while I do film, the one thing I always say and brag about myself is once I film a game, I watch it then, and then I go home and edit it, so I get another time to watch these kids also. So me evaluating and stuff, I do know what I'm talking about a lot. So it was good to be upstairs, involved in watching some of these college coaches when they see a prospect start to blow up in front of their eyes, just kind of see that kind of excitement level for them knowing we might have found our guy.
Yeah. The biggest takeaway, I think, for all of us is that the work doesn't stop, 4:45 on Sunday. It's
we're still trying to get a meeting on the calendar.
We're going to go through the entire roster sheet for the TBR and put new kids and stock risers, level changers, all that stuff into our scouting service.
It's going to be a long meeting.
We're evaluating, talking to college coaches, trying to put them in the right direction as far as where prospects are that fit their programs, and then we take that day off, and then we're right back to the grind of advocating for players, trying to figure out, get the right information into the right hands. And
not to mention we got 300 teams on deck, an elite open event next week.
Yeah, the open period's no joke. I mean, it's going to be big time.
And I think, Mass, when you were talking about, hey, if you didn't get an offer, stay the course. Mm-hmm. Because people like us, behind the scenes, we're adding people to the TBR, our scouting service. So a lot of these kids don't even realize, just by us identifying and adding is a step in the right direction that the work got you there.
Yeah.
And not look at the names that are there's a lot of dudes that were going crazy at TABC that didn't get offers. Yeah. But it didn't mean it was for nothing.
Right. And another to add on to that point a little further, these college coaches are still getting their ducks in a row. They got open period next week. They've got a lot of work. They got to go report back to their their head coaches if they're an assistant. There's tons of work to still be done. There's so much time. This is a long process, and there's so many names being thrown around, which is really cool.
And this was, we threw out earlier today when we were talking as we are prepping. This was a huge weekend for the low to mid majors.
Yeah.
When you go in there and you go through to see who had legitimate offers from the weekend, and those were some of the guys that you put eyes on, it just magnified how important this weekend is in June and with your high school team. I was talking to one college coach, and he says, man, he doesn't play like this with his summer league team. Well, he's probably you could go in different directions with that, but when you get on the high school floor with your teammates and you know exactly what you're going to run, your teammates are your teammates. You didn't have somebody else that just walked in the door 30 minutes ago and you have to learn his name. Those coaches,
True.
Yeah, those coaches put their best players in the best situations to succeed. Everybody knew they weren't going to go 3-0 this weekend and win the state championship. Mm-hmm. But my goodness, they went out there and they competed. Yeah. That's why those kids got. I mean, we're going to talk about a handful of them, bags of them,
and
as many as we can.
And if you're not mentioned, it's not because we didn't see you, or maybe it is because the event's so darn big. Like a lot of people played very well. A lot of teams had a lot of success this weekend. Our goal, again, we want to advocate for all kids across the state, and we hope to see you during the high school season. We hope to see you at our live event next week. There are other times that we're hoping to see you, and just another little age-old truth, like you never know who's in the gym.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hit on some of those names, as many as we can, with names that pop, the players who are generating buzz with college coaches on social media, etc. From what we saw. The first guy listed here, J.J. LeBoy.
Yeah, John LeBoy was just, man, Blue and I had a conversation. I don't think we were together maybe but 30 minutes the whole weekend, but it was just kind of like we were doing this like ESP, like you see that, you see what I'm seeing over there? I'd be upstairs, Blue would be down there, and John LeBoy was one of those guys. He's a really big guard, 6'3", 6'4", broad shoulders, and just commanding the troops for Houston St. Francis.
Yeah. And I remember last year coming from a couple of tournaments in Houston and telling you about him because he was kind of maybe the third or fourth choice on that team to get any points. But the dude flies up and down the court. He plays hard. Everything he does, from cutting to getting to the basket to defending, that I'm glad everybody got to see it this weekend.
And quick shout out, Christian Hodge, 6'5", glue guy, production on that team. Doesn't get enough love, and he should. And he makes J.J. LeBoy's life a lot easier.
He was everywhere for that.
Everywhere. And I don't think he has a Twitter. He may. I just couldn't find it.
Yeah.
But by the way, PSA: make your Twitter your name and make media guys' life a lot easier.
Please.
So much easier.
So much easier. The guy we've seen at our GASO really explode, Lyndon Wonder Cahosi, again.
Just the extra dimension that he can bring in offense as somebody who can make a decision at the high post, in the mid post, from the short corner, and make a on-time pass to a shooter or a cutting guard. I mean, he just gives you so much more than your typical 4 or 5 man does at this level. And a lot of college coaches are starting to pick up on that as somebody where, he's 6'5", 6'6", but if he was 6'8", a lot of these D1s would have already offered him, I feel like.
He'll be at our GASO next week.
And he will.
CTX Nights.
Yeah.
Another CTX Nights, I guess we call him a newcomer.
Yeah.
Sam McKinney.
Big weekend.
Dude.
I mean,
big weekend for Sam.
And it's just been one of those guys where, he's played in plenty of GASO, so we've kind of got to see the evolution. Yeah. I know what I like that he does a lot, does really well. I don't like when he settles.
Yeah.
He's not in settle mode right now. A kid where you're about to go into your senior year starting to figure it all out. When he's in attack, then the 3-ball kind of after he starts attack, the 3-ball's there. I mean, he's putting it all together at a very high level.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's visiting Tarleton State on Monday. He's got offers from Adams State, St. Ed's, who would love to put a blanket around him and bring him home.
They would. Can confirm.
There's others. I'm just kind of throwing those out just because they're a little bit fresh in my mind. But I really thought at one point Sam McKinney was going to play himself into a multiple Division I offers. Tarleton State obviously saw something there. That's why they're bringing him on campus.
Speaking of another guy who's just rolling in offers right now, KJ Thomas. Who, I mean, all over the place. This is your guy. You wrote about him like 7 times during the news.
He's the Austin Westlake of players.
Yes, yes.
But he's from West Texas. That's a hat tip to Leslie Broadhurst, who's the head coach out there, and he put me on him a while back, and he just said, watch him. He can really score. And the things that KJ is working on and has fixed was a little bit of like good shot, bad shot. Mm-hmm. Am I going to take 4 or 5 shots from the volleyball line to make one? Maybe 1 out of 7 to ooh and all there. No, he's putting do more things.
I like that. Keep shooting for the.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden, it started back at before state, but at state, I believe did UTEP offer him?
Yes.
Yeah, UTEP saw him at state, and
he competed, man.
Yeah,
he had 30-something points.
34, 35
yeah.
points against Faith Family. Like that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And so they've waited this amount of time, and they get to see him again, and they went out there and offered him.
Just an ode to the process.
Yeah.
Just an ode to the process. They loved him at state, and he just strung together some really good performances. A guy who made me look really good this weekend, and then another guy who made me look really good, Kazim Boyd, my guy.
Dude, him and David Chong, so fun. That backcourt is electric.
And Dickinson, mid-season form, going hard in June, playing so fast, playing that dribble drive, that free open offense, and Kazim elevating off the floor, burying shots, David getting downhill, distributing and finishing at the rack. Really, really fun. I'll kind of give the little story. Like, we were in a gym, and one of the college coaches I was talking to, he's like, hey, I really would love a scoring guard. And I kind of scrolled through my app, and I was like, Dickinson. We got to go right now.
Gotta watch that.
Got to go right now. Kazim goes, just 2 off the dribble, bang, bang from 3, elevating off the floor, looking really, really good. So thanks, Kazim, making me look real good out here. Man.
A guy who's a new home for him, Jalen Washington Timmons, was all over the place.
Yeah, the one thing with Jalen Washington, when I saw that dynamic team, obviously they're loaded.
Yeah.
That's great for the state, the city to have a loaded prep school like that. But he made all that talent kind of mesh well with his ability to get to where he needs to go. One of those guys as a 2024, not over penetrating. Has a big with David Punch, has Leroy Kelly in the corner that was hitting shots at a high clip.
Great.
He played really well.
He played great.
But just he kind of brings it all together, knows when to pick and choose. So having an elite point guard with that speed and can break down anybody off the dribble. I mean, the one thing I always go back to, I played college basketball because I could guard, and guys like Jalen Washington scare me to death because I'm like, I would not want to be on an island with that. And I see him a lot at Tyler Ralph's gym, and he still hasn't tried to get that one-on-one bump yet, but I'll probably decline that because his shift and his ability to get wherever he wants is elite. And just good to see him take that next level with all that talent around him.
Nothing wrong with a business decision. I've been there.
True that.
Dylan Thompson set the tone from the jump with Second Baptist. Just like does everything.
GPA
well.
guy, high GPA guy.
Yeah,
big fan of those guys.
Had a lot of coaches on him, and was rebounding the ball and leading the break and transition, making the right pass. Just one of those players who just understands his role and how to excel at it. And you just kind of have to tip your cap to that because he just played and showed what he could do in front of these coaches and used the platform to really better himself in his recruitment.
I got a guy. He has eluded me for a really long time. There's 2 guys that I want to talk about. Devin Pryor. Saw him for a half and was walking around yelling his name.
Yeah, off camera, you and I had a pretty nice conversation where you were very bold on a take about him.
Yeah, the guy moves, looks, and just plays a little different. And I'm not going to go into what I said, but I'm a big fan.
Yeah, whatever you told me was, okay, you must be a really big fan. So, respect.
There's a gesture that he does, like it's almost like he wants to like grab you and shake you and tell you this is how good he is.
Yeah.
He had that
Same
moment
energy,
talking about Devin Pryor.
Yeah, I think Devin Pryor is going to be moving up in these next rankings if I have anything to do with it.
Right.
So. The other guy, Brooks Barr.
Yeah.
Both these guys, for whatever
everything.
reason, they had been hurt or I just missed them. And, Brooks has no weaknesses. Makes the right decision, can score, dribble, pass, shoot. He was a guy that college
that first step was no joke. Like, I was sitting up there with college coach, and they're like, the body jab going by every single defender, all 3 games. It was like, oh, this is for real.
And if you're on his hip, you're staying there.
Like you're not going to move Brooks Barr off the line that he wants to go. Once he decides and creates the space, it's a wrap. And if someone helps, that thing's going to the right spot for an open three. I think I would die and go to heaven and play for Keller if I had to do high school again.
The one thing that I heard from college coaches, I'm talking about high-level college coaches of the Power Fives, is that Brooks can think the game. They said his IQ is what's going to make him successful at that level.
Sure.
And you don't hear that a whole lot. You kind of base it off athleticism and power and strength, and they're sitting here going, this guy's just different. And he racks up another guy that racks up a bunch of offers after this weekend.
Yeah, and for me, a guy who has been on a steady upward climb ever since we saw him at state, Demarion Dennis.
Oh.
I mean, he's playing against some really high-level guards and looking like the better prospect in those games because he just does everything to this. He plays with such pace, and he can knock down shots. He makes his teammates better. I mean, that's exactly what you want for in a lead guard, and he was doing that all weekend for Veterans Memorial.
I just call him like a box checker. It's like, okay, I saw him do it there, check. Now it goes, he's playing a little better competition, check. And he just keeps checking the boxes of it's undeniable. And that
above
is
the rim, the quick bounce.
Yep.
It was
it's a kid you want.
Yeah.
You want to go to war with a kid like that.
Facts.
And the thing is, he's got a wide shoulder base, and he's still pretty thin right now. Put some weight on that. Kid's good.
Got a lot of length.
Got a lot of length.
You
He's
know,
got a
it's-
chance.
Yeah.
And if you go to our pre-TABC show last week's, head on over to minute 17:30. That's where our under the radar is, and that's where Demarion Dennis was, and not anymore. I saw him play, and it's Steve Perez has himself a guy that's going to carry him very deep, I think, just throughout the playoffs and stuff. And goodness, that kid is really good.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about, you're not coming out to win a state championship. You are competing to win games, but I don't think the wins and losses mattered that much. These coaches just loved being with their team.
Yeah.
But when you do have a chance to win a game, you would like to have a closer. And Patton Pinkins had probably one of the best closing performances against South Grand Prairie. You can head over to Texas Hoops TV, but ISO at the top of the key. Called game.
Goes between his legs about 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
And step backs about 3 feet and just.
Lyndon, you saw that about 7 months ago, right?
Yeah.
At Cedar Hill?
Yeah. I mean, every time. He had 37 points in
The game winner, right?
and the game winner against Cedar Hill.
That was a great video. You got the GIF.
Yeah. I mean, he just
All over it.
always produces. I mean, he had 33 against Summer Creek in their first game, and then he has 19 and the game winner against SGP. And I'm like, he's going to get some of the toughest defensive guards in the state and just delivers every time.
Let me add something, too, about Patton. I've seen him be the dude. I've also seen him be, an auxiliary, role player. I mean, he's started on JO3, but, he's not having the ball in his hands every single time. But he's going to get offensive rebounds, create offense, pass the ball. This is a guy that you've seen the translation of a bunch of different positions. Definitely a coach's kid, right?
Definitely.
Knows how to play. Patton Pinkins.
Yeah. And another guy, that just delivered all weekend, JoJo Moore. What do you see out of him, Timmons?
Yeah, it's one of those things where Leander Rouse is going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
And in that 5A for sure. And JoJo with Cole Andrew Heights leaving and going to Rice. JoJo did have a lot of the ball handling responsibilities, but I watched him in the pick and roll over and over this weekend and just be looking so comfortable. You go under, he's hitting the three. He's attacking. You always know he can rise and fire in that mid-range and get to a spot at 6'5". Just another one of those 2024s that you see the maturity level grow and their decision-making and they making more of the right plays time and time again.
He had college coaches giddy.
Yeah.
Got his first offer to this weekend. Great for JoJo. That's a long time coming. The kid can go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The versatility of him we've seen so many times,
Yep.
and it's out there.
Another guy who just produces every time we see him, TJ Birch.
Yeah. He was a guy that I missed because I was at SWAC, so I went back and I watched film. I got a lot more film to watch. But TJ's bearing shots. TJ's flying around using the length, and there was never a question about his offensive game ever.
Yeah.
And now he's just putting it all together. He's a leader now. He's kind of El Capitan of Taka, man, and he's playing like it, and he's making some noise. Enjoy seeing. I've always been a TJ Birch fan. I'm enjoying that ascent right now.
There's a maturity level to him though,
For
too.
sure.
That where he's going to play all areas of the court to defend, and he's going to score, but he's not forcing it.
Yeah.
And there's just a maturity level to him that I'm enjoying watching.
Ani's teams are always so balanced.
Yeah, they are.
And really good and really tough to beat. And if you're heading up Ani's squad, then you're probably pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blue, another guy that we kind of touched on in the preview show for TABC, Tim Finau. Had a nice weekend
Yeah.
for Colleyville Heritage.
I think that he was so steady. Even talking to Colleyville Heritage coaches, it's the reaching the double-double mark. 9 and 8 on the weekend. Body's changing. He's putting the work in. He's, as we talked about, he plays along. He plays for 2 coaches that are former college coaches, so they know what he needs to get done for the next level. Then he went out there, and it's like when he's practicing, he's going out onto the court and doing it and really trying and just attacks and plays with some instincts.
Yeah. I'm going to let y'all fight over who gets to talk about this guy, Jacoby Coleman. I mean, what else can we say about
Go
him?
for it, Mass.
Yeah, it just I've seen him 7 times, and all 7 of them he's dominating in one form or fashion. With this high school team, I've never not seen him score 20 plus, and it's like it's not a forced 20 plus. He just gets to his spots, gets downhill, scores in transition, just doesn't really make mistakes, and then he's kind of playing the point guard role, which is fun to see at his size. His game has to evolve, right?
Yeah.
For him to take the steps that he needs to. He has got all the physical ability, but you're seeing it all come together for Jacoby. Only a junior. Feel like he's been around for a lot longer than that. So just a veteran guy that you're probably going to hear me talk about for another year and a half.
Yeah.
Sorry. He's really good.
I got one, and that's Malik Archie with McKinney. It was at TABC last year that I felt like he really came into his own as a prospect. My first time getting eyes on him, and he was just, this tough finisher that can shoot it. We sat courtside at the Mansfield Fall GASO Classic, and him and and Finley dueled. Like he went toe to toe with Finley Bizjack. I'm like, okay, this is a high quality player, and every time I've seen him since, he's just the guy who you want the ball in his hands when you need a bucket, because he can do it so many different ways, and he was doing it all weekend for McKinney. Don't sleep on them this year, because it's his team now, and he's got a lot of things to prove in that, kind of congested 6A area up there with so much talent around him.
Looking at this list we have here, Bryce McLaughlin, John Paul, JP2.
Yeah.
Another one of those 2024s where I'm like, okay, it's your time to this is your senior year coming up. Yeah. And the one thing that always stands about him is, one, I love the mid-range, but his ability and the want to rebound offensively and defensively, that length, if he wants to go get a rebound, he's getting it. He's added to his frame, so he's finishing better through contact when he gets those offensive rebounds. But just his energy and his just will to win with that JP2 teams really stood out for me, so I was very impressed with him.
Yeah.
Lyndon, you took a trip down south.
I did.
Stopped at Duncanville Fieldhouse. Who popped there?
Yeah, as the resident small school guy here, I wasn't alone in making the trip down there, because I was joined by a lot of college coaches that were there to see Keaton Bristow, and he just does so many things well. It's not just the fact that he's 6'8", a true wing that can put it on the floor. They ran a set for him the first possession, and he catches a 3 coming off a down screen and buries it. Yeah. And then his decision-making and vision in transition is great. He'll shield the ball from a defender and then just find a cutting teammate for a layup. He was really good, and a lot of coaches came away just kind of nodding their heads like, okay, yeah, he might be playing at a 3A school, but this kid's legitimately a D1 prospect.
Great to hear. We also had a big weekend. The Price brothers, W.T. White.
Well, just looking at W.T. White in general, the size that they step
Across
on the court,
board, they are huge.
They won the paper test.
No doubt.
Pat Washington, you might be state champions, right? But the way these twins fed off of each other this weekend, it was almost like, oh, you're going to make a steal? Well, I'm going to steal off the inbounds and go dunk it. The way that they were just going back and forth and playing within their team ball of pressuring 94 feet, bringing the ball up, making an extra pass, and their size and quickness. I hadn't seen that from them in a while, so it was good to sit there courtside and watch it and really enjoy seeing all of the tools that they possess on the court.
Little note here: I went and saw them in February against South Oak Cliff, and they just kept it. They kept it in the paint. They kept it around 15 feet. Jonathan buried 3 threes in a half.
Yeah.
Work's being put in,
Yep.
and it showed. And a lot of people took note. Just believe that.
Yeah, we got 2 more guys on this list, and Dylan Battie has really come into his own, just as somebody with that size, frame, and motor around the rim.
Sheer force.
I mean, it was getting to the point where every time you heard a roar, I was like, oh, I peek over, he's coming off the rim right now.
Can we talk about the Lancaster stable too?
Yeah.
Oh my God, the front court is something different.
There's
Amari Reesman.
wingspans.
Marisi and better. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yikes.
When the one thing here about Dylan Battie is that I think it was you
Yeah.
or Sam that saw him at Plano West.
Yeah.
He transfers over to Lancaster, and he had to wait his turn. I went
He
to
did
a
have to wait his
playoff
turn.
game, and he played maybe 2 minutes in
Yeah.
the first half, 2 minutes in the second half. So last year, of course, he's coming along, and now this year it's his team. And I think Lancaster's getting back to Lancaster in terms of, like you said, that length, the front court pressuring. Because I saw them against Judson, and it just became a layup and a dunk fest because they were just too long, too fast, too quick to hit the gaps. That when you look at a box score and you win by 20 points and everything's coming around the rim, you're putting a lot of ball pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could be playing mid-March.
Yeah,
Just
definitely so. I mean, another kid who's going to have his sights on playing mid-March, AJ Bates. The first word that comes to mind when you watch this kid is just leader, because he's got so many options around him. They have Nazir Price. They have dudes, Brett Norton, who played
Tillman.
well. Tillman Jaramil, however you say his last name. I apologize, but they
He's a
have so many
shooter.
They have so many dudes.
Yeah.
And he's the one who's just getting everybody on the same page, making sure that they're locked in on defense.
guarding whoever it needs to be.
Exactly. And Seven Lakes has a real shot this year because they have a leader like that that can run the point, that can just do so many roles for them.
Yeah.
And talking to a college coach as he was specifically watching AJ, he goes, "Wait a minute, he's talking out there, he's defending, he's switching, he hit a 3, he finished on a dunk, he defended." Like there was all these check boxes, and I'm like, "Well, what are you waiting for?" He goes, "I don't know if we need a guard, but that's my guy if I need it." So he was actually talking to his other buddies about watching AJ Bates. So it's and that's another thing real quick as we wrap this part. College coaches talk to other college coaches.
Yeah.
So when you're playing well, like somebody said up here, you never know who's watching. They're just turning them to their right or to their left and telling to their college coaches, buddies, go to court 1.
All right, now moving on to our next segment, strong out the gate, basically the teams who position themselves in the conversation as state contenders. This is going to tie in with next week in the newsletter. We're going to do our way too early top 10s for 6A, 5A, 4A. Kind of in with that. We're talking about the teams that really made a statement this weekend, and there were 2 in 6A that I feel like really, that you just can't turn your head to what they did this weekend. And the first one's Plano East, because we in this office, we know what they are in terms of just really tough, really disciplined
Balance.
and balanced. Like they can beat you a million different ways, but we didn't know that they were that good to where, that first game against Brennan, I mean, did the clock run at some point? I mean,
Yeah, it stole the show.
they really
it's
did.
one of those things where, they can beat you in a lot of different ways, but can they beat? They couldn't beat the top. That's what we didn't really know.
Right.
And that's a statement that we're looking at that they made here. They can beat you, but we're not talking about the Brennans.
Oh,
no,
we are.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I started my little newsletter. They're my team of the week or
Right.
whatever. And I started it with there was no dispute that Plano East was really
Yeah,
good.
they belong
Right.
in this tier, but at the top of this tier,
Yeah, pretty wild. And I think it starts, I'm going to say with, the seniors, the leadership, everything. But man, DJ Hall made a statement.
yeah, he did.
Made a statement. Lou.
Think about the leadership and the experience, and then you start getting calls about DJ Hall. And people are like, who is it? Matt Wester.
Tweeting.
His name is DJ Hall.
Yeah, this is him.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that was really nice and playful. And then they just go out there and perform. We've seen it before. The guard play, the experience.
The shot making.
These guys are going to go. Most of these guys, as I'm looking at the roster, are probably going to be 3 and 4 years on varsity. So, you know, it's pretty remarkable to see because it's not like they don't have a 6'8", 6'9" guy that's out there that's powerful. They're just going to have to go and they turn it up the court and beat you.
And legitimately, we have like 7 dudes from the scouting service
If-
from their
if
team.
not
Now
more.
8 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
DJ.
Well, we had
Oh,
DJ in there.
DJ,
Yeah, we had
yeah,
DJ in there. Because what he did against Lake Highlands in that playoff game
Yeah,
last year was pretty special as well. He's just springboarding. They're nice.
They're nice.
Look out, man! Like they're really good, really tough.
Yeah.
The other team, Beaumont United. You know, there's a lot of questions coming into this year. They lost Terrence Arsenault. There were questions like, is Wesley Yates gonna kind of lead them to the promised land? And I mean, took them very far. And then is Beaumont gonna lose it now that Wesley Yates is gone? I think a resounding no.
Yeah, I tweeted on Sunday during that Faith Family game. They ain't going nowhere because they're not. Because Cade Dotson and Clarence Paya, those two, you know, that's enough to put butts in seats for college coaches by themselves.
Yeah.
But it's the role players and their depth. There's not this drop off. You know that they've lost some seniors, especially Arsenault, Yates, Traylon Portia, some guys like that throughout the years and. Still in 6A, you know, they're 5A 2 years ago. They're not going anywhere. I think, you know, somebody's going to have to knock them off because it's still, at this point in time, I think it's still their region to win in Region 3.
They're so fast, so physical, so athletic.
Yeah.
Then you put some real skill behind it and some feel and knock down shots. Yikes.
David Green.
Yeah.
That's their head coach.
Common denominator.
Yeah, they're fun to watch.
Yeah. So, you know, moving on to some 5A teams, we've seen all of these kids individually at some point, you know, at different events, playing with different summer teams, basically. But Eastern Hills, man, they are building something, especially in those 2025, 2026 classes.
Yeah, Alex. We can start with Alex Barther. Can score the ball. Really complete player. Big kid. And then the Briggs twin. I mean, like I could just kind of keep going on and on and on. But 26 class at Eastern Hills.
Facts,
Pretty solid.
Dude, yeah.
You talk about bouncy athletic when they were in the faces of their opponents, how high they were getting off the floor just to disrupt the pass. And I was going to say that when you put you look at Fort Worth Eastern Hills, I bet you Sam Lowe could come up here and talk to you about all those teams that they had back in the day of how great they were. So it's kind of nice that it's been some years, but you get to see their name right here at the top that we're talking about again. It's pretty cool. It's a little cycle that happens.
You know, when we kind of talked about this earlier, talking about the Price twins at WT White and their size across the board, but they might have something. I mean, it's a little bit wide open. I mean, in Region 2 and 5A, and they just because of their size, they have to be up there near the top.
And their guard play was really good.
Yeah.
Jamison Thrower was really good. Kadeem Diong, I think that's how you say his name, was really good. They got some length. They got some gamers at that guard position. They got a salty little group there. I live maybe 2 minutes from WT White, so that's going to be a fun night for me. I just get to waltz on over there and watch some really good basketball.
Yeah, and you know, keeping it in 5A, I think we're going to see another really, really high-level playoff game at some point between Veterans Memorial and Rouse.
Oh yeah,
because I mean, Veterans
And
Memorial.
it comes earlier than it should.
It does. It needs to be a regional final. We need to petition UIL to get the bracket switched up or something.
What round was it?
That was the regional quarters game to go to the regional tournament, and it was 1 point, 2 point game, something like that. Maybe it went to overtime. But yeah, I mean, Veterans they can just beat you so many ways, and Rouse in the same vein. Like that's just a talking point for a basketball nerd like me who's thinking, that's going to be really cool in February. Just kind of sucks that we're in June right now.
And we have a lot of high school coaches looking like we'll have something to say about that when it's all said and done.
Yeah,
Particularly in both of their districts.
Definitely.
Yeah, because Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial is going to look to get to their 4th straight regionals. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
4th straight.
Hey,
So-
I'm gonna jump back up to 6A real quick. I want to talk about Waxahachie. I just do.
Yeah,
we-
yeah.
That's a real player in 6A, and King Grace was the best I've seen him with the ball in his hands, like creating space and stuff. Like he's an elite shooter, and that Trey Nunn. If they had Trey Young, that'd be really nice. Trey Nunn and Parker Jefferson. It's been a challenge, I'd say.
Definitely.
Him coming back from a really tough injury, and he looked great.
Yeah,
He looked great, making great passes. Had a fake handoff, went and punched one, made some up and under moves. Really good to see Parker back and playing well. Team's building something.
Just the on-court movement, you could tell that he was finally
Comfortable.
feeling comfortable,
Yeah.
exactly, and was dominant in stretches for them.
Yeah.
With 4A, we kind of had that 4A pool of some of the traditional top teams, Dallas Carter, Pinkston, Anna, Canyon Randall, but the two teams that went undefeated there, both Region 3,
Unfortunately.
Silsby with Jared Harris, who was just all over the place, and then Booker T. Washington, who made it to state and lost to Faith Family in the championship last year. But Chris McDermott for them, wow.
Yeah.
He's just walking 20 and 15 guy.
Walking.
Production. That's the definition of production is Chris McDermott. So
And Jared Harris, per usual, Silsby, had some incredible moments, one of which you caught on camera
Oh yeah, shot it from.
from the C and squack. He's literally like holding the ball, and he's like deciding like, this guy's a little too far back. He just lets it
Yeah.
fly. It's like he's just prototype.
One step
man.
back and it's a backcourt violation.
He's so prototype. The way he moves, his length, it's just Jared Harris. Really, really
and
top shelf.
and I don't think there had been a lot of people talking about him since April. So he came out and made his own statements for
Yeah,
himself.
absolutely.
sure.
So that's good for Jared.
So, yeah.
And like we talk about, when it's the not too early top 10s coming out.
Next week.
Okay,
So,
and there's going to be plenty of teams on there. So we're just talking about some names. I know we have some high school coaches being like,
Definitely.
"What about us?" Well,
and
there's a lot of
there's
Yeah.
a lot more going into this week.
400 teams. There were a lot of
newsletter.
3-0s.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, we're gonna have a lot more coverage, especially of the high school implications, stuff like that, in the newsletter this week and next week with the too early top 10. But for now, let's move on to some sleepers, some guys who,
We get weird with this word.
yes,
It's not like how do you like to explain it, Mass?
Okay, I think this is probably the best way to encapsulate it. Maybe we are going to a court to watch someone specific, and then someone else catches our eye.
And the same thing with these college coaches.
Yeah.
As a prospect,
Exactly.
It's a real thing.
as a prospect, I wanted to play against somebody that was getting all the college coaches there.
yeah,
And
They're still there.
You want that type of environment where the right breaks, you play really well,
Yeah.
and now you're the center of attention.
Yep.
And I think a lot of these guys showed that.
and the guy who I think did it the most impressively, Steven Ramirez with Keller.
Well-
Because, everybody's there to watch Brooks Barr, and they were playing some top-level competition. There are 40 coaches, but,
They were playing. It was Brooks Barr versus AJ Bates. Looked like it was the matchup,
yeah.
and he just over and over again, just no nonsense, just continuing to produce.
6'5" shooter.
Gets
Yeah.
to the rim, does a
Really
lot
good
of
passer.
things.
He can pass the ball.
Yeah.
That's-
I'm telling you, Keller, I want to play for them, man. It's just like it just looks like they go out there and hoop, but they're also unselfish and they play together.
Yeah.
And if you can dribble, pass, and shoot, you belong with the Indians. And it's Steven Ramirez we've seen him play really, really well. Lyndon, he's been one of your guys since he was
while
a sophomore, yeah, and he's really, really good player.
There's also respect there because when something's breaking down or not feeling really good out there on the court, they go to their coach and they talk it out.
Yeah.
And he's on the sideline as the play's going. He wants to take that moment to teach. This is where you should be, and he's on the board, the dry erase board.
I actually sent Coach Weir a picture of him and Steven.
Oh,
That one of our
yeah,
guys
yeah,
got,
yeah.
and I sent it to him, and I said, man, this is awesome. What y'all did this weekend was awesome.
Yeah.
So really fun to watch. A dude who's played in some GASOs who has just been one of my favorite guys throughout the summer, and it was so great to see him put on in a big stage. Landon Short.
Yeah.
Dude can go. He is so shifty side to side, and he played a little more off the ball this weekend than he does in the summer for ATX Lockdown.
Yeah.
Burying shots constantly.
being at the Coliseum over at Hebron on Saturday, everybody starts just. I mean, Yeah, Josiah Mosley.
For
just
sure.
Went crazy.
We got to give him his flowers
Yeah.
because he was that good this
He
week.
was really. So I'm watching that, and then I'm like, "Who's this number 10 over here?" He keeps just draining the shot. You know, and as you're sitting there and you're watching a lot of basketball, I mean, I didn't remember that it was Landon. I opened up my book. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is the space he shoots from. He's always getting to the open spots. He's dishing the ball. He's handling the ball, or he's playing off of it." And once again, you're just really he's really comfortable in the setting of where he is, and they go out and they can 20-piece people.
Not only that, but this is another guy who can, like I mentioned with Patton Pinkins, where it's like I've seen him in multiple different roles be really effective.
Right.
And so you got a guy who can play on or off the ball and be just as effective and deadly in both ways. And that's a big testament to who you are as a player. You're a pretty complete player if you can do that.
I like the fact that I saw the same confident Landon Short from ATX lockdown right over there. Like you said, playing a different role, but still you could see the same confidence. If there was a lane that opened, he was getting there, hitting the floater. He knew exactly what he wanted to do and he was doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so another guy who I went down and saw at the Duncanville Fieldhouse for the small school segment was James Livingston. And, you know, it's one thing if you are, you know, just this quick fire guard who can shoot it and get to the paint and all that stuff. But then you realize, like, on defense, he's guarding Keaton Bristow, and he's making him work.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there's some times where lob help wasn't there, and the kid's 6'8". Of course, he's going to get a layup out of it. But like, he was just up defending him in a really impressive manner, and he picked up some well-deserved offers, in my opinion, right after that game.
Absolutely.
Because he was, you know, the guy who was making things happen for Cole, and they ended up losing the game, but he had 24 points, hit it from long range, and I feel like that kid, he's starting to put it all together.
Yeah. For me, Justin Mack, Fort Bend Travis, I mean, one of those smaller guards that's everywhere on the court. And when I say everywhere, I mean, it's 94 feet picking up. It's bearing the tray ball. It's attacking the rim and finishing over the rim at a sub-6 foot guard. But just like a straight dog out there that also has enough of the leadership qualities to do both. Like now you can run the show, but somebody you want to go to war with as well. Those intangibles were something that really stood out for me. Yeah. And when I posted on Texas Hoops TV, like he's going up there off 2 feet dunking in transition with other dudes trying to jump with him. Very impressive.
Yeah, a guy who got a lot of compliments, you know, even as a 25 in a really tough pool, Cameron Garza.
Yeah, Cameron has been one of my favorites for a minute now. He's got some zip, and he's playing with that San Antonio Future group. And, you know, obviously they got a lot of high-profile guys, but it's very clear that when Cameron shifts to playing with John Jay, he's the dude. And I tweeted in College Station, I was like, this J team's going to be nice.
Yeah.
And they got some pieces, and I want to focus specifically on Cameron, but he got some compliments from college coaches, and it was just great to see, you know, he can score the ball, he can facilitate the ball, and he's definitely a one to keep your eye on in San Antonio. Like he's making some serious noise.
Yeah, Prince Jones Bynum for me. You know, he's just one of those guards who just has the build, and you know that it's just going to continue to get better at the college level. But he's got some real nice game to him. He's got some zip, just going side to side. He's a good decision maker in transition. Him and his brother were impressive for Cinco Ranch, and you know, I liked what I saw from them. Even if the results kind of didn't go their way, there's something there with that team. He
can really score it, and then they're going to have to give him the ball to go out there, and they're going to compete because they'll be fine with, you know, it's a Neil King team that they can go out there and compete every single time.
Yeah,
Linden, Chris Adlam.
Dude,
baby.
I think if we were giving out awards, he would be the best perimeter defender that I saw because he locks guys out of the game.
Dude, and he's like scoring on a consistent basis, and he's hitting shots, and he's getting downhill, and he just plays with such tenacity, but it's like controlled too. Like he's just a physical player, and Chris was good at Memorial Day, good again this weekend for Houston Christian. I'm a big fan of Chris Adlam.
Yeah, you have to go guard him because if he gets loose out there on the perimeter, I mean, he's just going to catch and shoot and nail it and 2 or 3 in a row. And so even this weekend, they were down a couple of starters, and look what they were able to do.
They just battled.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with them. They just battled, and Chris Adlam is officially in him and Dalen Porter can guard any guard category.
I knew you were going to bring up Daly.
But those two, like,
Facts.
But yeah,
miserable.
but it's
Yeah.
true.
Miserable. I would want no part of that. I would crab dribble the entire way up the floor.
Another nightmare when we're talking about miserable, Kalen Hargrove.
Oh, my God.
I mean, just you can drop him on any pro. I don't care what level you think he is. If you put him at any court anywhere, he's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Defensively.
Yeah.
94 feet, and you want no parts of that.
And he can crawl up underneath you, and if you run into him, he's not
Yeah.
moving. You're moving.
He's so physical in the way that he can position his body and get, like you said, when he's up in you, he's a small guy, but he's hitting that ball and tapping
and
it
he's
away
running
from
next to you and cutting you off with his hands by his side so he doesn't foul. And there's not much more frustrating things than that. Offensively, though, Harlan has a lot of guys that can knock down shots, and he knows that. And now,
Sneaky team.
yeah, he's getting into the paint. Once one of those guys that can get anywhere he wants. He's finding his corner shooters. He's making the right reads now. So it's just both sides. It's just hard. It's just hard for anybody at this level to handle him.
Nice touch with the pink numbers. Those stood out. I'm no, I'm serious. Like in a setting like that, when you're trying to do anything to stand out, I thought those stood out. I liked it.
I like Westbrook's jerseys too.
Yeah.
The old school with
The cursive.
the cream color. Yeah,
Yeah, that was good.
Blue Zach Day.
Yeah.
How many points did he score this weekend? I mean,
90 something.
Yeah. Can you count that high?
I need a calculator. Yeah, he went out there and hit 32, 30, and 25. And he's another one of those guys that if you allow him to break free and get that pocket pass, it's going in. And he will, if he gets defended, he's going to read the defense, and he'll be able to step out a couple more feet out. I mean, not that you don't want – he's shooting the NBA three. You don't – like I said, you don't want people leaking out and shooting those volleyball threes. But he's out there moving around. He's with a really winning program in Midland Christian, and it's just kind of what I saw after I saw him for the first time down the stretch of February.
Yeah, and if go find the highlight video, his first three, he's sprinting
corner?
to the corner,
Oh, yeah, those
and
feet got
he
set
gets his feet
so good.
around so fast, on balance. It's like that's special shooter stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nerd out shooter stuff.
His dad's 6'9", so he could
gosh.
stretch out a couple more inches.
Yeah. All right. Last small school guy, I promise.
No, keep them coming, dude.
Hunter Fitch with Mahia. They have a lot of small, quick guards around him, and he's just kind of their guy. Everything funnels to him on the defensive end, and he does such a good job altering shots. He blocks them, makes guys miss easy chances around the rim, and then he's an offensive board machine on offense. He didn't do a ton as far as stepping out and shooting it, but in transition and especially on the offensive glass, I really liked what I saw from him.
Javon Henderson.
Oh my God,
Javon Henderson.
6'5". I mean, I'm looking at Frisco Memorial, going, wow, where did all these guys come from?
Yeah,
and he is very athletic at 6'5", bouncy, scoring around the rim. I mean, he's a guy that you recall him watching him.
Yeah,
last
I
year.
put him in the scouting service last year, and I saw him have some moments. It's probably the best way to say it. He played really well in the Spring Creek.
Hey, last year you had to fight for those at Memorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they had the Leon Horner
Horner
and Steffi. They had some dudes on ball.
Yeah.
And now it's the seniors' time, and don't even get me started on Seven Spurlock. We'll get to him later, but holy smokes, Javon made a little bit of a name for himself, and his name was buzzing a little bit.
Yeah. All right, Blue, a guy that you liked, Corbin Brown, Rockwall. I mean, this kid can fill it up.
Yeah, he was 6'5". He's a guy that's going to hit the mid-range jumper and get to the rim and finish and everything. I mean, a couple games that I saw passing and then looking at some stat sheets, I mean, he's putting up 12, 14, 15 points throughout the weekend. Really good rebounder, quick off the floor. I mean, that's just one guy that you just really have to kind of keep your eye on. I mean, I don't know if the college coaches were out there in full strength to see him, but, I mean, he's going to be a part of a team that has a lot of really good players.
Yeah, 3-0 weekend. Hudson Goldner, Devon Turner.
Yeah.
Sneaky team to watch out for, and we will see early in the season.
Definitely. I'll wrap things up here, and I apologize if I'm not saying your name right. Koye Rondino.
Sounded good.
It looks good. Yeah, I think that's pretty
Let's
good.
hope so. Definition of what we're talking about as a sleeper, because he's playing on the same court as Robert Miller and John Clark, and those two guys
Demand a lot of attention.
Every college coach in the gym has got at least one eye on that court. And he steps up And I think he scored like 24 points. Like, he was just one of those just find a lane, get to the rim, finish, get to the free throw line. Does so many little things that you just don't see on the stat sheet well. And, for a Kane team that has somebody like John Clark on the inside, he's really the focal point of their perimeter's offense because of what he's able to do, getting to the rim and knocking down the occasional shot. So now we're talking GASO Next Gen. So these are the 26s and 27s now.
There's way too many of y'all.
And God,
it's ridiculous.
Oh, we're just getting started on the 27s.
we talk about the 25 class because it's already kind of arrived and those guys have proved themselves and there's a ton of talent, but I'm not looking forward to ranking the 26s because there's just as many dudes there.
Yeah, so we're going to list just a few, follow GASO Next Gen for all of our youth coverage that we have right now. A lot of stuff on the 26 and 27s, but just names that were kind of circulating around. I'll start Austin Gooseby.
Oh.
Got, people are like, oh, he's a 26. Whoops. We're looking for a 24.
Who
guard
is
right now.
number 14? I received that text quite a bit.
Yeah.
Trent Perry, top shelf.
Dude, he's
Just moves a little different.
Yeah, he does. He really does. Peyton Jones, Silsby, making his debut at the varsity level and
so
delivering
good.
and looking
He
like
looks so good.
belongs, man. That's something that I was really impressed with.
Dawson Batee, like 8 a.m. You want to catch me? Like I'll be evaluating like full time. I'm the morning guy in this group. Like I am ready to
Definitely,
roll.
definitely.
And I was just sitting there and I was like, this guy's he's like his brother, but he's burying these like 27 footers. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he just same motors, same all that, and shooting. Sorry.
Sorry. A lot of legs to that guy.
That guy's going to be elite.
McKinley Martin for Buda Johnson. He goes out there and just right away knocks down a couple of threes.
2027.
Yeah, handling the ball, distributing. That's a little bit of what Buda Johnson needs, especially to help Jackson Vandegaard out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Isaac Hayes, game winner.
Hayes, game winner.
Winner,
On
are you
GASO
kidding me?
clips, one of those guys that's ready to produce at that level. His name's been mentioned a lot. Good to see him.
All North Crowley does is win. Just want
Yeah,
to throw that in
that's all
there.
I
Yeah.
do.
Pax, you got it?
I got this
Go
one.
on.
Keontae Graybear, James Sanderson. Now that is a 1-2 punch. They just get at you so many different ways, man.
Yeah.
And they can score.
Yeah.
No, Hill wasn't mentioned, but he's in the newsletter.
But
Yeah.
he deservedly is because he was that good on the inside for them.
Blue, your guy Paxton Ivy.
He's a guy that's slowly kind of like he's out there trying to find his way, but you see him going, okay, this is where I can insert myself. I mean, 7 points here, 9 points there, a couple of threes, rebounding.
Never played a varsity minute in doing that.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
Kingston Fink for me, Austin Vandergriff. Good size to him and not afraid of the moment is one of those things that I'm looking for at 2026 and 2027s.
Elijah Garrett. Wow.
Does a lot.
On ball, dude.
Yeah.
Handles it, takes it against pressure.
Yeah. Ethan Sheets out of Denton. He might be the next one up there. Just a huge presence. I mean, he plays so much older than he is because of that physicality he's able to bring on the interior.
Austin Brown, Lufkin.
Dude, his
might be
game-
one of the better corner three-point shooters in the
his,
state.
His game is so polished. Yeah.
Polished. That's a good way to say it. Another polished guy, Xavier Green, DK Spears. The Colony.
They're just taking the ball from you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
X has such good feel. DK just scores it so easily.
Congrats on the Tennessee offer, big dog.
yeah, that's big time.
Wow.
And we can wrap things up with Morgan Lucy, the Woodlands Christian. I mean, him and his brother are both very dangerous, but Morgan's got a little something to him as somebody who can get to the rim and still shoot. Like, look out.
And if the people want more, 'cause, I mean, we're almost just hit an hour. If the people want more, newsletter.
Please subscribe.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
Lyndon does incredible work on the newsletter.
It's just one of those weekends where it's a positive for everybody. As evaluators, we got better. College coaches got a better idea of what's going on. High school coaches got a chance to be with their guys. Some of the kids that maybe needed a different setting for a little bit just to reset, to finish their summer out. There's just so many positives with this TAB showcase.
I read
Showcase.
Yeah, I read that there was too much media down there. Are you kidding me? The media did a great job covering from top to bottom. 400 teams. The more we have, the better because it makes the state stronger.
And shout out to the players that are getting their streamed videos out so quick. Like that's such a big asset to this project.
It is. I mean, all right, y'all are ready for hour 2? Make sure you subscribe to the GASOcast on YouTube, like and turn on those notifications. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.